If the VNET is your city block, then subnets are the buildings on that block. And how you design those buildings, how many floors they have, who gets access to which floor, determines everything about whether your network scales cleanly or collapses under pressure the moment your architecture grows. Let us start with what a subnet actually is. A subnet is a segment within your VNet. It takes your overall address space and carves it into smaller, more manageable, more purposeful pieces. Each subnet gets its own CIDR range. CIDR stands for Classless Interdomain Routing, and it is just a way of expressing an IP address range in a compact format. A /24 gives you 256 addresses. A /28 gives you 16. A /29 gives you 8. These are the numbers you need to know because Azure has a reservation that changes your math every single time. Azure automatically reserves 5 IP addresses in every subnet you create. Not 4, not 3, 5. The first address is the network address. The second is reserved for the Azure default gateway. The third and fourth are reserved for Azure DNS, and the last address in the range is the broadcast address. Those 5 are gone before you deploy a single resource. So if you create a /29 subnet, which gives you 8 total addresses, you only have 3 usable IP addresses left. Microsoft will absolutely put this on the exam because it catches people who memorize the CIDR table but forget the reservation rule. Now let me give you a way to think about subnet design that will make this stick. Imagine you are designing the floor plan for a hospital. The hospital has one address, one building, one piece of land. But inside that building you have completely different zones. You have the emergency room on the ground floor, open to the public, high traffic, fast movement. You have the ICU on the 3rd floor, restricted access, only authorized personnel. You have the administrative offices on the 5th floor, completely separate from patient care. You have the pharmacy in the basement, locked down tight with controlled access logs for everything that goes in and out. Now imagine if you put all of those departments on the same open floor with no walls, no doors, no separation. A visitor walks in looking for the gift shop and wanders straight into the ICU. A delivery driver looking for the loading dock ends up in the pharmacy. Everything is exposed to everything else. That is what happens when you dump all your Azure resources into a single subnet without proper segmentation. Subnets are your walls. They are your floors. They control traffic flow between different parts of your architecture. Your web servers go in one subnet. Your application servers go in another. Your database servers go in a third. And that subnet should be the most locked down of all because that is where your actual data lives. Your Azure Bastion host goes in its own dedicated subnet called Azure Bastion Subnet. Your VPN gateway goes in its own subnet called Gateway Subnet. Your Azure Firewall goes in Azure Firewall Subnet. These names are not suggestions. They are requirements. If you name them wrong, the service does not work. Here is something that trips up a lot of people during the exam. Subnets within a VNet can be any size as long as they fit within the VNet address space and do not overlap each other. You can have a /24 subnet and a /28 subnet in the same VNet. You can have 20 subnets or 2 subnets. The design is entirely up to you. But once you deploy resources into a subnet, changing the address range becomes extremely painful. You cannot resize a subnet that has resources in it without removing those resources first. This is why planning before you deploy is not optional, it is survival. One more feature worth knowing for the exam, subnet delegation. Azure allows you to delegate a subnet to a specific Azure service. Like Azure Container Instances or Azure NetApp files, delegation means that service gets special permissions to deploy service-specific resources directly into your subnet. Only one service can hold delegation on a subnet at a time. Design your subnets before you deploy anything. Treat your address space like real estate. You cannot build more land once the city is established. Day to done. See you tomorrow.